Yo, Seth Gardner. This video I wanted to talk about leprechauns and why I believe they're real. And I know that sounds silly to some people. Well, whatever. Like I've said before on a few different videos, that most conspiracies or urban legends or whatever creatures that people think are just like myths, mythological creatures, monsters, whatever, people think are silly at first, but leprechauns, that's one of the more believable ones if you look into that. And yeah, I kind of mentioned that before in one of my videos because someone asked me about that. And I realized, yeah, I should probably elaborate on that because I said some of the reasons, but so here, I can give a more detailed explanation for why that is, and a more, yeah, I can elaborate and give a better argument for why, or better position for why I think this is true. I thought I should do a dedicated video about this subject because, yeah, it's definitely one of the more believable ones. I don't think it's far-fetched, really, if you think about it. Like, so here, a little bit about myself. So, I'm from Chicago. I've been born and raised in Chicago my whole life. Like, I've traveled the world and everything. And I've been to Ireland. Like, I'm Irish. I mean, I'm American, but Irish American, whatever. Like a lot of people in Chicago. And the school I went to as a kid in the 90s, yeah, there were a lot of Irish American kids there, like myself. And so we would build like leprechaun traps around like St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, so I would do that every year. Like I can remember being a kid, it was like every year I'd build leprechaun traps and like do it with like Lego sets or like build little things like to try to catch leprechauns. Like I can remember there being like building one out of Legos, and then I had like a trap door, and I put, I forget if it was a sheet of paper or a cloth, but like a trap door to try to catch the leprechaun. And then like I can remember getting up the next day and checking it, and the trap door, like it was caved in, something fell through, and I look in there and there's this chocolate I thought it was a real like gold coin at first, but it was like a chocolate coin. It was wrapped in like the golden colored tinfoil or whatever. And there's like a little note that said like, you almost got me, better luck next time, or something like that. And that's when I guess it first dawned on me, like, I already kind of believed in them because like everyone else did, and it never seemed that implausible to me. It always seemed like, well, yeah, it sounds like a lot of people believe in ghosts. Like it doesn't seem any more far-fetched. It doesn't seem any more or less far-fetched than that. And anyway, yeah, I could remember like my first grade teacher, for example, saying like, yeah, these things are real, and if you do bad on your homework, they'll come and get you. And at the time, I remember wondering, like she said, oh yeah, there are leprechauns in this classroom. It was like around St. Patrick's Day, and she said like, and if you do bad on your homework, if you get an F or whatever, if your grades are bad, I'm gonna send them to your house to get you. And that like creeped me out, and I couldn't tell if she was joking or not. But she seemed so serious, like, and she would talk about these things. And I sort of, this is sort of influenced for one of my books, actually, these kind of experiences. One of my horror novels, Call of the Cradle. Yeah, that one I kind of get into this stuff. And yeah, that's like one of the focus, like the main focus of like the core of the plot for that horror novel. And anyway, yeah, so I've always believed in them. I don't think it's really that far-fetched to say leprechauns are real, because you talk about like all these different cultures. They talk about little gnomes or trolls or elves. You have leprechauns and even genies. Like they're like mischievous, and like they could turn your wish around. That sounds to me like how the leprechauns, they'll say they're going to give you gold, but then they don't, then they disappear or whatever. And even like the DMT, like machine elves, people smoke DMT and they see these little elves. So I think that's probably, they're all seeing the same thing, that these things exist. And I don't know if there's more than one kind, if there's like different species of leprechauns. Like, I'm inclined to think they're all probably the same thing. It seems more likely to me, but I don't think they seem unbelievable or anything. Like, where do people get the whole idea of these like little mischievous elf or leprechaun or gnome like things from? It has to be based on something real, because like all different cultures talk about this. And yeah, so when I was a kid, like I was saying, I would build leprechaun traps, and I do that every year. And I was so this is in a Catholic school in the 90s in Chicago. And since there's a lot of Irish families in Chicago, maybe that's part of it, like a cultural thing in a way. And then, so even though it's a Catholic school, like I'm Buddhist, I am now. I'm Buddhist now, but when I was younger, I went to Catholic school, and I went to public school when let me think. The fourth grade, and I remember telling kids like, oh yeah, or like when St. Patrick's Day was coming up, I'm like, yo, you guys gonna build your leprechaun traps? And I remember them looking at me like thinking like, what are you talking about, leprechaun traps? And they're saying like, F. Gardner, are you crazy? And they thought I was joking. But then I had to explain to them, no, that's part of St. Patrick's Day, is because leprechauns are real, and now's your chance to try to catch them. Maybe you can catch them all year round, I don't know, but I'm not sure how that works. But that's what I was taught back then. And for some reason, there's like a real lot of them, I guess, around St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, I don't know if it's just that specific day, right on St. Patrick's Day, like on the dot, or if it could just be like around St. Patrick's Day, maybe. Probably whenever, but I guess there's just more than usual around St. Patrick's Day. I don't know. But yeah, so other kids thought I was like joking or putting them on, but I was so used to doing that. And I remember thinking like, wait, how do they not know about this? And I remember thinking, wait, was that like, I don't know, like, because the school I went to before, the Catholic school that had a lot of Irish kids, Irish families, is it just like, it was like a cultural or whatever thing where it's like Irish families would do that in America, like at least in Chicago. Well, there's got to be other schools. It can't just be the one school I went to, because I knew, no one thought it was weird. Excuse me. Yeah, I certainly didn't. I still don't, because like I said, I think that's one of the most believable urban legends or mythical creatures, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't really have any doubt. Yeah, so those things definitely exist. Like, I don't see why people would doubt that if it's throughout all cultures, that sort of like creature or being, whatever. And it's hard to say. Like, I've heard people say like, oh, they're evil, they're demonic or whatever, but then some people say, no, they're good ones. Some of them aren't friendly. And yeah, it's hard to say. Like, they can be, I guess, like mischievous, like tricky, but I guess that's just like with people. There can be good people, there can be evil people. Maybe it's like that with leprechauns too. And or maybe it's like, I don't know, our concepts of morality don't even apply. Like when I was talking before, how in Buddhism there's like the devas, which are like angels, or like in Christianity, angels and fallen angels, demons. Like it's like, maybe it's like, well, I know demons are evil, but then you have like I said, Buddhism devas and then jealous devas and other creatures, higher beings than humans. But yeah, maybe just the way we think of like good and evil, it doesn't apply. Like it's like thinking in too human terms. So it's, yeah, that much is hard to really say for sure. I'm inclined to think maybe, yeah, it doesn't quite apply and it might be a mix, like just as how there's good people and evil people, like they're kind of, yeah, there's mischievous leprechauns that'll try to trick you, but maybe there's ones that will legitimately, it's like you catch one and he's like, oh yeah, you got me, here's your pot of gold, and he gives it to you for real. And another one might just try to trick you and run away or whatever. Like same with like how genies and leprechauns. Yeah, that's such a similar concept. Like how genies, like you make a wish and they'll try to turn it around, like to make it a bad wish. Like if you didn't phrase your words just right, if you're not very careful with how you phrase it, it's a lot like leprechauns. How the leprechaun will try to trick you and keep its gold, the pot of gold, so that you don't get it, and then run away and disappear, or however that works. But yeah, I always believed in leprechauns ever since I was a kid, and I still do. It's even around St. Patrick's Day, like most people, they think like, oh yeah, it's almost St. Patrick's Day, I'm gonna go out and party and whatever, pray to St. Patrick. But like for me, it's like when it's St. Patrick's Day, it's like the first thing that pops up in if Gardner's mind is, wait a minute, now's my chance. I can like get that pot of gold for real this time. And like, cause like I almost caught it all those years ago when I was a kid, and then it left behind that how I thought it was a golden coin, but it was just like golden tinfoil, and it was just like a chocolate coin, and the note saying, you almost caught me, better luck next year, so it said something like that. So I got close as a kid. Now I'm 33 years old, so I could probably get it for real this time. I just haven't been doing it like as regularly. Like as a kid, I would do that like religiously. Like I would, every year after year, I'd build the leprechaun traps and yeah, build it out of like Lego sets or whatever connects that was like Legos, like just little pieces I had. So a lot of the time there would be like pieces from toys, and like I would use like action figures and put it on where the set or the trap was to try to lure the leprechaun there, because he might think that like oh, maybe those are other leprechauns I could chill with. I could talk to them. I'll just chill with those guys, and he doesn't realize they're just toys. They're just like action figures. So now like that's what I did as a kid. Like how I'd build the little trap doors out of Lego sets and put it in my bedroom. And if it almost worked back then, yeah, I mean, if I'm a 33-year-old novelist of 13 books as I am now, like it's like I can probably do it, because like my intelligence isn't, obviously it's increased. I'm smarter now. Like I've written all these amazing horror novels, and people tell me, oh, F. Gardner, these are so, how do you come up with the brilliant ideas for these books? And so if I can apply, I don't mean that in a bragging way, but the same like level of talent that I do towards my books to the leprechaun traps, yeah, maybe I can make a really like totally inescapable trap. It just won't be able to escape. And because if I almost got it as a kid, yeah, I'm inclined to think that it's more likely that I can get it now, since my intelligence has gone up so much. And yeah, it's like it's more likely that I'd be able to catch him too, if not any. If most people like in Chicago, well, I can't be the only one still in Chicago that tries to do this, because there's a lot of people with Irish heritage in Chicago. So, but there's not as many, I guess, as there used to be. I have a feeling like a generation back, it was probably like more normal, where people, it was more widely believed, whereas my generation now, millennial or whatever you want to call it, Maybe not as many people believe in that, because not as many people believe in like supernatural stuff anymore. So yeah, maybe that means there's more leprechauns for me to catch if there's not as many people trying to get them. But still I live in Chicago, and there's a lot of Irish people, a lot of people Irish heritage in Chicago. Like so yeah, maybe there will be a lot of people trying to catch them. I don't know, but yeah, that's one of the best parts of St. Patrick's Day, honestly. If you never built a leprechaun trap on St. Patrick's Day, to me that's like saying like you've never gone trick or treating on Halloween. It's like, what, you've never done that? It's like one of the major staples of the holiday. It's like one of the best parts because it takes time. You need to start building a leprechaun trap before St. Patrick's Day. Otherwise, you're going to be up all night and you might miss it. Anyway, yeah. So that's essentially why I think leprechauns are real. Like, if you just look at all the evidence for it and everything, yeah, it makes sense. It makes you think, oh, so that's why in this part of Europe or whatever, they were talking about trolls and gnomes and elves, and that's why this part here, they're talking about leprechauns, and then even like I said, even genies, like that's that's very similar, like with the idea of this creature that you can get wishes. It's sort of like getting gold. It's wealth, because a lot of the time when people make a wish, they'll probably wish for wealth, stuff like that, and that they're still kind of mischievous. So yeah, those, and then plus the whole idea of it being like these creatures from whatever you want to call it, the DMT realm or whatever, that these machine elves, that's the term they'll use a lot of the time, machine elves. It's also one of my books, Call of the Machine Elves, yeah. So yeah, I sort of talk about this stuff in my books. My books are like, so they're horror fiction, so there's like narratives, but I try to incorporate some of the beliefs that I have, and like urban legends and stuff, and conspiracies, and yeah, why people should start believing in those, because if you research most conspiracies, a real lot of them at least, yeah, you find out, yeah, a lot of these are true, and yeah, this is one of the more plausible ones that most people seem to just dismiss as like preposterous or silly. But if you look at all the evidence, it's like it seems like, oh, this is obvious. Why didn't I believe in this before? Like, if I believed in it as a little kid, it's like, why shouldn't I believe it as an adult? Because it'll make more sense as an adult if you think about it. Because it's like all across the earth, all these people talking about these creatures that are so similar. And yeah, the evidence is all over the place, all different cultures, all different generations. And like I said, it almost worked for me as a kid. I almost caught one. And I can't think of, yeah, I don't see how they couldn't exist. That kind of seals it for me. It just seems so obviously true that leprechauns are real. And yeah, I don't know why it's become so rare. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure it used to be more common, that more people used to believe in leprechauns. Like if you were to go back, whatever, to old Ireland and whatever, 100 years ago, everybody probably believed in leprechauns. It's like saying like, well, why wouldn't you? It's just so obvious, because like I said, if I say the evidence and everything, it seems so obvious then. So back then, it was more widespread, I'm sure. Like saying you didn't believe in leprechauns would have seemed probably outrageous, actually. And yeah, so people should have an open mind and yeah, do their own research. Don't just believe everything I'm saying. I'm not claiming to have like magic or special knowledge that that you're not necessarily privy to. It might be just things like you didn't connect the dots yet, and I'm just kind of trying to point you in the right direction and be honest about what I think. Well, there you have it. That's why F. Gardner believes in leprechauns, and why you should too. But like I said, do your own research and make up your mind for yourself. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.